Welcome back everyone to another Company of Heroes 2 replay cast. And this time we're gonna have a 2v2 on Moscow Outskirts Summer. Wait, no. Whoa. Whoa. I feel stupid. Yes, Moscow Outskirts Summer. Okay. And the players are gonna be cubes or yeah. I don't know what this is supposed to be. And Atlas having a good time. On the opposing team we're gonna have Chameleon and MK1 or Mark 1. I'll just call him Mark 1. And I'm actually not sure who sent in the replay. I'm fairly certain it's Atlas having a good time because whoever sent in the replay did not really specify who they were, but I'm pretty sure Atlas having a good time sent me a replay once upon a time, so I think it's gonna be him. Anyway, and of course it's USF plus UKF versus 2 OKW, as you can see. And on Moscow Outskirts, well, anything goes, really. It's kind of one of those maps where everything can work. It's pretty open. It's got some cover all around. Fuel points not really easy to harass, although you can have a good time of it. And the VP is also relatively difficult to harass, although in the early game, I mean, anything can happen. And yeah, we'll see. Universal Carrier already coming out for cubes, and that's going to be okay. I mean, on this map, of course, you're expecting the OKW to go with a cube wagon or two. And so, well, I mean, after the nerfs to the cube wagon, it's less popular than it used to be, but you still kind of expect it. So having the UC is definitely a useful tool to prevent that from just wrecking your infantry. And anyway, on the right side we have the first engagement. Riflemen against Stern Pioneers. Actually, Riflemen getting some good shots from those Garands, dropping two of the models of the Stern Pioneers before the Stern Pioneers can really get in close range and open up with those STGs. And once they do, another Rifleman squad comes in to reinforce. In fact, this squad might go down. This is very, very, very dangerous. Actually, almost going down. Very lucky that his Stern Pioneer did not decide to go for the negative cover. Otherwise, I think he would have dropped dead. And that would have been pretty bad. Pretty bad so early on to lose a Stern Pioneer. Still, it's not that good to lose all those models. It's going to be expensive to reinforce them. And this allows the right side to be captured by the Americans. And the Universal Carrier, of course, getting its first little scuffle with the Volksgrenadiers. That's just to be expected. Doing quite well. But the UC, of course, is going to be more vulnerable the game goes on. So this thing is going to have to be making use of in the early game. And yeah, as you can see, doing some damage to these Volksgrenadiers. But the Volksgrenadiers, I mean, they're having no real problems. They're not going to get wiped, I don't think. And yeah, they probably should just retreat. This isn't a fight that they're going to win. In fact, some reinforcements were trying to come in. Looks like the Germans also knew that they were not going to win that fight, but they run into a Vickers. So well-placed Vickers. Vickers well-placed, of course, covering the flanks of the advanced force of the infantry section plus the UC. And that really paid off for them. Of course, they have a mortar as well. Another flank coming through with those Stern Pioneers. But with the UC being around, yeah, I don't think... Yeah, the machine gun just retreats, and it's going to leave the Universal Carrier to deal with the Stern Pioneer squad. In the center, we have, of course, the church being occupied by the Germans, but the Germans are taking fire from that mortar, which is relatively dangerous for them. And, oh, actually, dangerous for the UC is the arrival of these Volksgrenadiers. The Battle Quarters is setting up in the base for Mark 1, so he's going to have Panzerfausts, and he's also got the Panzerschrecks on the Stern Pioneers. So this is pretty bad for the Universal Carrier. Needs to retreat just as it upgrades the Wasp Carrier upgrade, so this is going to be relatively okay. It's going to allow the Universal Carrier to have better range as opposed to what it used to have, and to do more damage against infantry, so just what you need when the enemy's got Panzerfausts. And we've actually got Atlas picking a doctrine, so we have recon support, getting out some Pathfinders right away. Not sure this is the best idea. Right now the Germans control the center, and that's not the best possible position for the Allies. They need to find some way to recapture, especially this VP, to reconnect their fuel point on the left side. The right side is going to get decapped by these Stern Pioneers, so pretty good harassment coming in. Of course, they have also got some harassment of their own coming in with those rear echelon troops, but they need to find a way to recapture the central area of the map. The Universal Carrier is going to help out with that, but I don't think that the Pathfinders are going to be too useful in this very moment. I would have like to see more riflemen coming out of Atlas. Although, the Pathfinders are going to be very, very useful as time goes on because of that artillery barrage that they do have. That's a pretty damn useful ability. And also the Pathfinders have an ability where they can execute models. So if they're low on HP, they have a higher chance of hitting. I believe they have a higher chance of hitting, but they definitely have a higher damage. So Pathfinders, especially once you get maybe some veterancy, maybe some upgrades, it can start to be pretty deadly, especially at wiping out new squads in ways that they don't expect. And yes, both sides are being fought over, but the left side is going to the Germans pretty decisively, and the right side seems to be going to the Allies. These two rifleman squads concentrating their fire nicely on one engineer squad at a time, although the first rifleman squad takes some casualties, and now the two Sturm Pioneers are going to be free to focus their attention on this one rifleman. And ooh, frag grenades are available for Atlas, and this could be very, very bad, although these two, yeah, the Sturm Pioneer squad was nicely spread out among these two groups, so they were able to avoid that grenade rather easily. In this sort of southwestern area of the map, we have, of course, the Universal Carrier still blazing in with that flamethrower, doing a lot of damage, wiping out one of the Volksgrenadier squads. Panzerfaust coming through on it, and that's going to mean a lot of damage. Of course, the second Panzerfaust is going to come through from these Volksgrenadiers and likely drop the Universal Carrier, but not before it managed to get a wipe on those Volksgrenadiers, so that was pretty good. It will actually abandon UC, and I think that the Volksgrenadiers will try to steal it to at least make sure that this thing is going to die. Oh no, they're trying to get in, and they're attack moving the Universal Carrier, and they do manage to get the kill at the last possible second with their puny Kar 98Ks. Well done by Chameleon, taking out one of the main threats to his infantry, and especially yeah, see, looks like he was a little too focused on the micro over there, and he's got 900 manpower in the bank, so that's not exactly... Ooh, something blew up. What blew up? I'm not sure what happened here. Anyway, looks like he was a little bit, you know, overzealous on the micro. He has forgotten to use all of his resources, and now he's going for a flak half-track, which at 8 minutes might be a little bit too late for a flak half-track. As you can see, he's got 50 fuel extra in the bank. So that means he could have gotten that flak half-track 3.5 minutes ago. And that would have been, of course, very, very useful to have to counter a Universal Carrier right earlier. Oh, well done by that rifleman, taking out another Volksgrenadier squad. So lots of wipes coming through on all sides of the equation. Even Jaegers being spawned in. They're going to take a nasty grenade to the face, and they're taking mortar fire also. And so this could be pretty bad for them. They should probably get out of the church. Yes, they do. But they get out into a blaze of fire from these American riflemen. And in fact, they're going to retreat from negative cover with little HP. This could be pretty bad, but no. The riflemen decide to retreat for unknown reasons. Anyway, Atlas very nicely using these rear echelon troops, recapturing his fuel point and recapturing, of course, the VP. He had already used them to take the munitions point. So very, very good usage of these rear echelon troops that aren't that useful for fighting, but he can use them to capture points while his opponents are busy fighting his riflemen. Very well done, and this is allowing him to have resource advantage over his opponents, which is, of course, what you want to achieve pretty much every time. Chameleon is going for 2 Raketenwerfers and a Hubelwagen. Why? I'm not sure. We'll see. Anyway, the flak half-track has set up, and nice bug was allowing it to fire without the setup being complete. However, the Vickers is putting some damage into its sort of frontal armor. The Vickers is going to have to retreat, but thanks to its nice escape route from the rear of the house, it's going to allow... yeah, I was going to say it's going to allow it to avoid detection from the flak half-track and escape unscathed, but the flak half-track moves in to cut off the line of retreat. But there was only 1 round left in the magazine, so he fires and misses, or, you know, doesn't get the killing shot. He reloads, but that allows the machine gun more time to escape. And yeah, Mark 1 is not happy about that. And yeah, you could say it was kind of lucky that the flak half-track only had 1 round left in the magazine, but oh damn, these people are angry. Yeah, kill yourself, dog. Yeah, okay, kid would be about my response to that. Slice belly. commit Sudoku. Anyway, yeah, I'm not sure what any of these sides are really going for. We have Salvage Doctrine from Mark 1, and he does have an extra supply half-track, so I think he might be going for a Schwer Panzer Headquarters on this left-hand side. The Flak half-track, of course, is being quite useful. This Rifleman squad should retreat as quickly as possible, but a thankful bit of help comes in from the Flak half-track, which pops smoke. That allows a little bit of extra time for these guys to escape. Nice incendiary grenade gonna come through, but the 50 caliber machine gun pops those armor-piercing rounds and manages to destroy the Flak half-track. One of the infantry sections goes down from the fire of these German troops, and in fact, lots of grenades are being exchanged from all sides. One of these guys died. It was a squad that I do not manage to identify, but also an artillery strike from the Pathfinders is going to put a lot of damage in on the German units. They're going to have to escape back to Germany with their tail between their legs and perhaps something else in terms of explosive shot to their rear. Anyway, we've got some Volksgrenadiers trying to flank, and they're gonna do just fine, but yeah, basically everybody destroyed everybody in that fight, and no one was really the big victor. Atlas having a good time, though, does manage to reach CP5, and that allows him to have the Greyhound. So he's gonna go for the Greyhound. Greyhound, pretty useful unit at anti-infantry, but it's not one of the units that I really enjoy using that much. I think that it's kind of weird to use, although here it comes. It's going to get some damage in on these Volksgrenadiers. It's going to meet the second Volksgrenadier squad, which is in a perfect position for a canister shot, but the canister shot will not go off. Decided to not go for one. Of course, the good thing about the Greyhound is that it's slightly cheaper than the Stuart, but its offensive capabilities are the same as the Stuart. Its main gun is the same, and its machine gun is the same as well, I believe. And, well, actually, it does not have the hull machine gun, but still, relatively similar offensive firepower to the Stuart, while costing less. Of course, the problem is that this thing is very, very much weaker in terms of armor, so you're going to have to be a little bit more careful as to how you use it. Commandos being called in by Box's man, and that's surprising. Anyway, here comes the Cube Wagon, or rather, here goes the Cube Wagon into hell. Well done by the Greyhound. And of course, it's an American vehicle, so I can just kind of pop out the crew and capture the point. Anyway, well done by Atlas, actually using all of his tools to his advantage and having map control established. Of course, Americans are quite good at this with their vehicle crews, with their rear echelon units, and he's making full use of that. That's pretty good. It's allowing him even more resource advantages than he normally would have. And of course, the commandos. Commandos are quite strong in close range, but perhaps this is a little bit more than they can chew. And yeah, I think that they should retreat out of the line of fire as quickly as possible. They perhaps went a squad too far. And yes, they're going to have to escape out of there. Of course, 2 infantry sections still alive for Box's man. And they are upgraded with Brens, and they have veterancy, and they're massacring even more Volksgrenadiers. So this is looking pretty good for his infantry force, just feeding off of that Volksgrenadier squad, getting some good experience. And for the late game, these infantry sections are going to be rather scary. Of course, the Allied late game might not be as strong as the German one, especially considering we have a Jagdtiger available for Chameleon. But they're definitely not going to be slouches. Of course, with the infantry game, the Allies have a very, very good chance of coming out on top. So we're going to see. And the Greyhound upgrading that Pintomaten machine gun just to get that extra bit of anti-infantry firepower at long range. Although, we have a couple of Obersoldaten squads being built by Mark I from, of course, the Schwer Panzer Headquarters, which he placed exactly where we thought he would. And right now, his Volksgrenadiers are taking major, major casualties. Also, his Sturmpioneers are about to die. So this is not looking good for him, and it's good that he went for those 2 Obersoldaten, I guess. Still, he is out of Volksgrenadiers. So at this point, he's completely vulnerable to enemy vehicle attacks. He does not have any ways of getting snares or damage the engine of vehicles that are attacking him. And the only anti-vehicle defense that he does have are these Sturmpioneers, plus his allies' Rekenwerfers. But you don't want to have to rely on your allies, because who knows what kind of insanity they might decide to cook up this time, you know? Allies unreliable at best. Anyway, his Jaeger light infantry is taking a beating from the infantry sections. However, of course, the Obersoldaten able to put some damage into the infantry sections themselves and forcing them to retreat away. They're going to be replaced, however, by some other infantry coming in. The IR Pathfinders are still alive for Atlas. Atlas has lost a couple of his rifleman squads, but he's still got a very respectable infantry fighting force. Because he's still got those Pathfinders, he's got 2 riflemen and 1 lieutenant that can act as mainline infantry. And he's still got those rear echelon troops just kind of running around and doing their own thing. He's also managed to get a couple of fuel caches going right near the edge of the map. So that's going to allow him to have even more resources over his opponents. Of course, 28 fuel income already with 0 fuel points captured. Keep in mind that right now the Germans have temporary control over the right side fuel point. So once that gets recaptured by the Allies, then the Allied advantage in terms of fuel will be very, very, very much bigger than what it is right now. So, how is Atlas actually using that fuel advantage? Well, he hasn't... Okay, so he actually has just upgraded the Major, and he's going for a Sherman. Now, the Sherman is probably a good idea, to be completely honest, because he's going to need to find some way to deal with these Obersoldaten and to deal with, of course, Mr. Chameleon once and for all. Although, Chameleon, oh god, that float. That float is savage. He's got 1,700 manpower in the bank, so he really should be keeping a little bit of an eye on his resources, just so that he can use them. Right now, his force is basically pitiful. He's got 2 infantry squads, plus his engineers, plus a couple of Raketenwerfers. To be fair, the Raketenwerfers just showed their might and destroyed the Greyhound, but he needs to use his manpower in some way. Of course, he's got Tier 4 coming up, but he's also got Tier 1. And Tier 1 means that, okay, so he's gone for a Sturmofficer plus a Panzerfusilier, and what I would go if I were him is with a couple of support guns, because of course, if I have 1,000 manpower, my opponents have, oh god, my opponents have any kind of defenses or, you know, use any kind of infantry, then of course the 75mm support gun is just a pretty good option overall. Here comes some cluster bombs on the Schwerpanzer quarters. They don't seem to be doing all that much damage. Yep, that is unfortunate. Anyway, yeah, I was pretty curious actually about it, because I wasn't sure if that was going to cause a lot of damage or not, and now I know that it didn't. But, oh god. Grenade. Okay. He escapes. Anyway, yeah, now the Sturmofficer and Panzerfusiliers have made their appearance. So at this point, the Americans know that it's breakthrough doctrine, and they know that they should probably expect Jagdjägers. So because of that, probably it's a good, I guess, advice to just hold off on the Jacksons, because the Jacksons are just gonna get countered by the Jagdjäger. Of course, we don't know what the Germans might want to do before the Jagdjäger comes on the field. Oh, that was just a perfect attempt to run over these Volksgrenadiers that was just kind of not taken by the Sherman. Of course, a couple of Raketenwerfers are around, but the Pathfinders are laying the beat on them. Definitely going with the damage on those Pathfinders, killing the crew easily. And the Sherman getting some good kills on those Volksgrenadiers, just farming a little bit of experience for its starting veterancy. And at this point, the 50 cal going to be able to get some damage off on the Sturmofficer, but ooh, these two guys decide to get into the building. Probably a pretty bad idea, because right now, yeah, they're taking some nasty fire from that 50 caliber machine gun, and that's gonna allow the Americans to keep their fuel point. However, they need to be careful about this, because, well, they could try to flank, and so, yeah, they should probably send some reinforcements to the right side fuel if they want to keep it. Anyway, Panzerfeuer is coming on the field for Chameleon, and that's probably a good decision out of his. And a Panther is coming for Mark 1. So a little bit of a coordinated effort of bringing out some good medium tanks on the Germans' part. I think that that's definitely a good idea, because they need some way to counter the Allied armor. Speaking of Allied armor, I'm not sure what the British are doing. They went for a Bofors, really now. Bofors to defend the left-hand side. Probably a bad idea, though, if I were completely honest, and get more commandos being positioned around the area. Still, ooh. Butterfly bombs. Wait, no, that's not butterfly bombs. It's the cluster bombs. I'm just used to them, like, something falling like that to me is just butterfly bombs because too much Company of Heroes 1. Also, they're different from butterfly bombs. Butterfly bombs don't explode on impact. They are mined. Well, that was an interesting bit of physics. Anyway, Bofors, yes, it's around there. It's not going to be all that useful. And what is this Panther doing? No infantry support, no line of sight support, just no minesweepers, absolutely just wanders in. If it had done this same thing on this side of the map, it would have met a bunch of modified M6 mines for the Brits. However, it's luckily gone into the right side of the map where the Americans are, and the Americans, I mean, they do have the re-echelon troops that can plant some mines, but looks like none of them were planted, and right now, they're lucky they only found a Rakenwerfer in terms of anti-tank on the Allied side. Yes, this was a bit of a mistake for Atlas to not go with any anti-tank guns, although he does not have the capability to go with any anti-tank guns because he does not have the company command post with the lieutenant, not the lieutenant, the captain. So perhaps he should have gone for the airborne combat airborne combat group. Which, of course, would give him the anti-tank gun he so craves and a paratrooper support squad for a very, very cheap price, 325 manpower and 80 munitions. You can, of course, recruit the anti-tank gun with a re-echelon unit and get a very, very cheap anti-tank gun, and you get an airborne squad as well, which is never that bad. Right now, it seems like this Panzer IV J manages to get a good flank off on the Rakenwerfer with the support of the infantry. More fire coming through from the other Rakenwerfer. I'm not sure what it's going to try to do. Damage engine from that nice anti-tank grenade, but the Germans will be able to recapture the Rakenwerfer 43 that was stolen from them. And right now, Atlas is having a good time, is going for a Jackson, which perhaps, again, could be not the best decision, although what also wasn't the best decision was to push this Panther up on the left-hand side, as expected, eating up those mines, and the Bofors nicely using Brace to defend itself from the fire of that Panther. The Sherman Firefly that was just built, I was just thinking about the British armor, and the Sherman Firefly comes through out of nowhere, RKOs the hell out of that Panther. Of course, Mark 1 is not happy about that, but he kind of was the maker of his own demise over there. So he needs to be a little bit more careful with his armor, especially how he uses it, and especially because he hasn't picked one of the doctrines that allows him to go with big late game Collins. He does not have well, he could have the King Tiger if he got the mechanized, but he does not have the Jagdtiger. He does not have the Command Panther, and he's not Wehrmacht, so he cannot have the normal Tiger, which is what I was thinking. He's got the Ostwind, which is not exactly the best kind of unit to bring out at this point in the game. So, it's a bit of a stalemate. The Allies are at 304 VPs, the Germans are at 326 VPs. The Germans, however, are not in the best positions, and yeah, the Jackson just plowing into that Panzer IV, forcing it to escape out of the battlefield. Still, there's a few units around that can help out the Panzer IV, such as this Rakenwerfer and, of course, those Storm Pioneers. So it's not the worst position to be in if you're the Panzer IV, but you're gonna need to be a little bit careful. And ooh, nice rear armor hit coming through, and I think that the Sherman is in a very, very good position to finish off the Panzer IV. Misses in the last shot, but the Jackson does not does not miss. Eagle's Eye shot from basically one screen away. Nicely takes down that vehicle. In the center, we have a bit of a fight coming through. Nice usage of the forced retreat from that Storm Officer. And this is going to allow the Germans to maintain control of the right-hand side of the map. But the center is being attacked by some commandos. Commandos who grenade themselves. That's allowing the Oberstleutnant to have an easier fight, destroying them quite easily. And at this point, though, these Oberstleutnant would have no counter to the Sherman. So if the Sherman were to come into the center, it would have a field day with those expensive infantry units. And right now, the right side, yes, it doesn't look all that good for Atlas having a good time, but he's got his infantry. So once he can reinforce all of his guys, and he should probably bring the ambulance in here so that he can, you know, he can heal up automatically. He's going to have a relatively good time once he can get that infantry back on the field. And he needs some support from his teammate, though. I mean, for some reason, Box's man does not have any of his infantry doing anything. And this is allowing the Germans to double team Alice having a good time. Although, is this a blessing or is this a curse? I'm not sure, because this allows the Sherman a lot of targets. So with the high explosive rounds, it's going to be able to get some good kills in. And where did that round go? To the moon. Not really the best thing. Machine gun tries to set up, but the Grenadier, not the Grenadiers, the Obersoldaten have an easy time throwing a grenade and absolutely executing them with the LMGs. Of course, that wiped phosphorus is going to prevent the Germans from recapturing the MG and repurposing it on their own terms. Okay, not really much going on, and it seems like while the Allies are still in a relatively decent position, the Germans got a few nice engagements which are going to allow them a little bit of breathing space. At this point, they are probably going to start to replace their lost vehicles. In fact, we are coming in with a Jagdpanzer from Chameleon. That's probably a terrible idea, considering he, you know, has the Jagdtiger. Why would he not go for the Jagdtiger if he had the Jagdtiger and he's going for the Jagdpanzer instead? This is a strange decision, to say the least. I do not know. I do not know. Seems to be pretty weird. And, ooh. Okay. Jagdpanzer 4. Plowing in some rounds on that Sherman at long range, but not really having the best of luck. I mean, this thing cannot really chase down enemy vehicles because it's a fixed gun assault gun. I know that sounds weird. Anyway, here comes some artillery, actually. Is that British artillery? I think so. Anyway, it's a fixed gun tank destroyer. It's not going to have the best of times actually chasing into enemy lines. And so, of course, the Jackson can get away. The Sherman can get away. The Sherman Firefly does manage to get some good shots into that Jagdpanzer, and now it's going to probably destroy. Yes, it's going to destroy the Schwer Panzer headquarters. Although, is it going to be at the price of its own life? Probably, as the Raketenwerfer gets a nice shot in. We have a flank coming through from this infantry, actually. Chameleon putting together a very, very nice move and getting behind the entirety of the Allied forces. This is going to be a big, big issue for these tanks. They're going to have to escape back to base as these units are equipped with Panzer Shreks. And the commandos are going to try to come in and finish off the flank, and they will manage to do so with the support of the Vickers. Well done, actually, causing the retreat of all these guys through a lot of Allied firepower. This could result in the deaths of a lot of Germans and probably the wiping out of at least one squad. This Sturm Pioneer is in trouble. No, they will escape. Very lucky for... what? What? How can you say he's map packing when literally your units were in vision of enemy units? It's like, did he not realize that he had caught the enemy completely by surprise? The Vickers was facing the center. The two tanks over here were not even repairing, they were just hanging out, waiting for repairs, like anything was happening. And they had absolutely no idea that something was coming through from there. And there was the mortar over here just chilling out like if nothing was going on. And yeah, I don't know. Anyway, looks like a nice bundle grenade took out a lot of these commandos. But it seems like, yeah, with the loss of that Schwer Panzer headquarters, a key portion of the German defensive line in the center is going to be crumbling away. And these Obersoldaten are not going to be enough to stop the tide of Allied infantry. And of course, we do have some supporting infantry from Chameleon, but these German players, for some reason, are not going for any MGs. For some reason, they are being very, very weird with their armor usage. They need to be finding something to support their infantry, to defend their territory, and especially to capture some territory. And Obersoldaten are not really the way to go with that. Like, Mark 1 needs some form of mainline infantry, and Chameleon well, he needs support weapons, and he needs to, well, he needed to not waste his resources on a Jagdpanzer. Now, I'm not sure if going for the Jagdtiger is really a wise move for him, although the Scott is going to go down. Well done. Because he's already got the Jagdpanzer 4. So getting the Jagdtiger wouldn't really be giving him any capabilities he does not have, although this is potentially very dangerous. No, the Sherman's firing at the truck. No! Fire at the infantry. Murder this infantry, please. Oh my god. This infantry is so just clumped up together. He's gonna go for the ram. He's gonna go and crush the infantry. Is he? Yes, he will. Just massacre everybody. In the meantime, we have a comet coming in. They're gonna try to destroy the Jagdpanzer as well, but the comet is going to be destroyed by the Arkanderwerfers. No, it's not. It survives with basically no HP. The Jagdpanzer misses his last shot, and both of these tanks will survive with basically no HP, and the entirety of the infantry force from Chameleon was annihilated by the Sherman. Superior firepower brings the democracy and the freedom to bear on the enemy. Well done by Atlas, just wiping out all those infantry units, and now Chameleon is left with nothing left. He does have a lot of resources, but even if he replaces all his lost units, they're not going to have the veterancy that they used to have. Königstiger is on the field, and yeah, of course, Box's man is pretty happy about this all. Königstiger is on the field, but is it going to be useful? Is it going to be enough? And I don't think it is, because this is not really a balanced force coming in from Mark 1. He's got the Königstiger plus, you know, free Obersoldaten and one Sturm Pioneer. He does not have any Minesweepers. He does not have, well, he's got one anti-tank gun. He does not have any Volksgrenadiers to bring those Panzerfausts in and to bring the utility, to bring the capping power. He does not have any machine guns to help suppress enemy infantry. So he's in a very, I guess, weak position. Nicely sniping that, you know, that retreating Obersoldaten squad. Those last remaining members getting sniped by the cluster bombs. So very surprising move. Not something you see every day with the cluster bombs. Getting a wipe on a retreating unit. But this further lowers the infantry prowess of Mark 1. He's going to be in a very bad spot. Nice play by Atlas. He's going to... Do they know about it? Nice play by Atlas. Getting his Sherman into a very sneaky position to repair, although he did not fully repair, which is sad. I don't think he's really fully realizing that that unit isn't fully repaired. Anyway, Comet's still around. We're going to have a pretty good push from these commandos. The commandos are up to vet free. That's going to actually put in some vision on these two tanks. So once they're lit up, they're going to be in a worse position. I mean, the Allies have a much more balanced, I guess, arsenal than the Germans. And at this point, this is starting to show a lot. They have more units that can do more things at the same time. More capability to inflict damage on the enemy. And now the Sherman is alive and kicking. We've got second Jackson coming through for Atlas, having a good time. That's going to be very useful against that King Tiger. No doubt why he went for it, and I fully agree with that decision. The Jagdpanzer is in a precarious position, to say the least. It's decided to stealth up in the middle of a field and going to the enemy lines, and it's gotten unstealthed by the revealing scout of these infantry sections. And at this point, Jagdtiger and Königstiger are going to have to face the might of the Allied tank destroyers and the Comet alone, which could be fine. This Jagdpanzer probably needs to get out. It's in a pretty precarious position. Up here in the north, there used to be the Sherman. I'm not sure where it went. It's over here. The Sherman could try to get a flank off behind these Axis tanks, but it seems like the Axis tanks are going to be pushing forward, destroying the Comet, dealing a lot of damage to these Jacksons, but they're taking a lot of damage of their own. Still, it's a pretty good push. Looks like the trade will be one Comet for one Jagdpanzer, which, to be fair, is not that bad for the Germans. LEL. To be fair, it's not that bad for the Germans because the Jagdpanzer is much cheaper than the Comet, so it's a relatively good trade for them, but they're losing the infantry engagement very heavily. So they're not going to be able to grab control over the central VP. The Königstiger is very much damaged, so it's not going to be able to assist that much further for the fear of like random enemy units coming in and destroying it. This means that the Allies are likely gonna just keep control over the center. The left-hand side is still under the control of the Bofors and the Ordnance 6-pounder anti-tank gun, and the right side is left alone. So the triple cap is ticking, and the clock is also ticking for the Germans. 256 points for the Allies, whereas the Germans are down to 210. But with the triple cap in action, they only have 3 minutes and a half left of time before that clock ends up ticking to 0. So they need to definitely find some way to capture these points and hold them. Looks like we're going to have a paratrooper support squad being called in by Atlas, having a good time. And he's going to have a good time with that anti-tank gun. This is going to be very, very useful at dealing with that enemy King Tiger. Despite the fact that its Sable rounds don't have the best penetration, they're still relatively decent. And anti-tank guns right now are going to be strong at dealing with the KT. Because the KT, while being relatively strong against enemy vehicles, it's going to have some trouble against that anti-tank gun, especially if it has to shoot at hordes of allied infantry in the meantime. So it looks like the Sable rounds will be not popped yet, but some shots are being plinked away at the frontal armor of that King Tiger already. With the support of these Jacksons and the Firefly that's coming in, the KT will definitely want to escape the battlefield as soon as possible. It's going to call in the support of the Jagdtiger. The Jagdtiger should do just fine at suppressing these Jacksons and the Fireflies from just obliterating that Königstiger. But the Allied infantry is in a good spot. As you can see, the Germans are in a hurry to get out because, again, their infantry force lacks support. They just throw in elite infantry thinking it's going to do the job, but the Allies have support of machine guns. They have the support of vehicles. They've got this Sherman coming in over here. So right now, it's, well, not good for the Obersoldaten. They're going to be taking some nasty, nasty casualties and be forced to back off. And the massive manpower reserves that the Germans had, yeah, I would say so. The massive manpower reserves that the Germans had now don't exist anymore. So, of course, at this point, it's going to be starting to get harder and harder for these German players to reinforce their units. I don't even know what's going on in the chat. So yeah, also one advice I would have for the Germans is let's chat so that you can micro better, you know. Alpine name player feat Durant account lol. Lamau 34-year-old virgin with cargo shorts. Jesus Christ. Anyway, Sherman massacring the German infantry. Doing what it's essentially good at. Doing what it does best. And here comes the Vickers. Vickers up to vet free, actually. So very, very strong. Managed to get back its veterancy after being decrewed. And I think that at this point the Germans are in a bad spot. They need to use their 2 big Tigers well. Otherwise, if they don't do this, they're definitely going to die. And that would not be fun for them now, would it? They need to be much more careful about what they're doing with these vehicles. They need to try to find some way to replenish their infantry force, and especially support it with good units, such as MG34s and some Volksgrenadiers ahead for the utility. Of course, for Chameleon, it would be Panzer Fusiliers. He does have 2 units of Panzer Fusiliers. That's fine, but he needs to upgrade them with the recon packages to improve their anti-infantry capabilities. And he's doing that. That's fine. Here comes a air supremacy operation on a mobile target. So not exactly the best thing. And whoa. Looks like they changed air supremacy operation. It sends in recon planes first and a strafing run, and then a reduced bomber strike. It used to be stronger. Anyway, I'm not sure if this is worth 250 munitions. I don't know, it didn't seem that effective, to be completely honest, because it's relatively easy for the enemy to dodge it, and it's not even that accurate, so... Or at least it didn't seem to be that accurate. It didn't seem to be following a logic with its bombing run. So... it's not going to be all that effective at dealing with enemy trucks, because those bombs didn't really fall into the center of the smoke. So if you're going to be dropping that on a truck, it's probably going to miss. So why is this ability this way? I have no idea. I mean, of course, it's to prevent it from being just a delete OKW trucks button, which it was. But to be completely honest, concentrated fire operation from the special weapons is it was already a lot better at being an OKW truck deletion button. And other abilities such as, well, you could say the Il-2 bombing strike even, are all pretty good at being deletes for the OKW trucks. So, anyway, the Germans recaptured a little bit of the right side, and right now there's a bit of harassment coming through from the Sherman. Up to 29 kills, so doing quite well. In the center, of course, with just the Jagdtiger and this Brackenwerfer being around, there's not much that can be done to challenge the Allied supremacy here. And, ooh, this could be potentially pretty dangerous, though, for the Axis. They have separated their King Tiger and Jagdtiger. The Jagdtiger takes some tulip rockets to the face, so the Sherman Firefly is going to be flanking around, getting a pretty good shot on the Jagdtiger, but these two Brackenwerfers preventing it from finishing off the big beast. And, in fact, the Jagdtiger probably going to destroy it as it tries to escape the battle area. Well done. But is it going to be enough? I mean, there's still some pretty nasty forces coming through with these two Jacksons. The two Jacksons could even try to flank the KT. The KT, which is the only thing that can deal any sort of damage to these infantry forces, and these anti-tank guns especially. The anti-tank guns doing a lot against that Jagdtiger, and the Jackson flank did happen, getting behind that Königstiger, and also using this Brackenwerfer that was stolen by some infantry sections, it looks like. Tommy's making good use of that, and the Königstiger is in trouble, but a Panther comes through. They're going to be able to destroy one of the Jacksons with the support of the Brackenwerfer, and the second Jackson also goes down. So this is well done by the Germans. They have now got a chance. The Allies are down to basically no tank destroyers, and so the Germans can use their big KT and their Panther to good effect. They have to, however, breach this anti-tank defensive line, and I'm not sure that they can do this. The Panther gets behind the Allied anti-tank gun firing arc, but it's not like the Panther can do all that much damage without the pinto-mounted machine gun. So the Allies can, to be completely honest, just kind of ignore this vehicle and let the anti-tank gun fire on the Königstiger. The Königstiger is starting to take fire from the Sabre rounds, probably going to be able to destroy the anti-tank gun crew with its massive 88mm high explosive rounds, but the second one gets recrewed. So at this point, the anti-tank gun starts to fire on the KT again. Takes some fire. It's down to 2 crewmen, 1 crewman, but they do get one last round in, and the KT is at very low HP. At this point, I feel like the KT is going to have to escape out of the battle zone. In fact, the anti-tank gun is recrewed once again by more American units that are just coming back from the base, fully reinforced, and it's getting some nasty pot shots on the Panther. Panther has to escape and back away, and the Sable rounds are popped once again because of the new crew. However, the KT manages to get one last shot in and destroy both a mortar and the anti-tank gun, but the Königstiger is finished off by a new Jackson that was built by Atlas having a good time. Very well done. And with that Königstiger being dead and no resources being in place to replace it, because of course Mark I went for that Panther, things are not looking good for the Germans. They have lost their main anti-infantry vehicle, which was the Königstiger. They still got the other Tiger, the Jagdtiger, but the Jagdtiger is not going to be able to do anything against enemy infantry. Its anti-infantry firepower is low, and its speed is even lower. So we're gonna have some problems getting this thing to be of any use to the Germans. And right now, it's showing its uselessness at its maximum level. Right now, of course, the tank destroyers are gonna be able to flank it, get into the rear, although some butterfly bombs coming in are probably gonna do more damage to the Allied units than to the German ones. Destroying the main gun of the Sherman Firefly. Looks like, yeah, he's going to get behind there and take it out. In the meantime, the commandos have seized the northern point. Well done. This is going to allow the Allies superiority in terms of capping. And right now, the Germans are down to 12 VPs. This is not looking good for them. And these paratroopers can just kind of move into the center VP. The Panther up here can't really do that much against these commandos. But the commandos decide to retreat anyway. Bad decision. Anyway, the center is being recapped, so it does not matter at all. And right now, the Panther is likely gonna be destroyed by these Jacksons. Oops. Bounces. At point-blank range, bounces. Anyway, this Panther was gonna die. Still, I've expressed myself pretty heavily on these German players. I don't think I want to talk about them any further. Allies. Well, they played well. I'm still not that sure on the Greyhound. I don't think it really paid off for itself. Pretty good control of the Jacksons, although this is why I really dislike using Jacksons as as flanking maneuvers. As flanking maneuver units. I guess that makes more sense. Yes, I don't like it because they're just very, 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 very vulnerable. They're just too easy to kill. I don't like that. So perhaps I would have been more cautious with the Jacksons, but to be completely honest, I think that with the information that was available, getting that flank off was the best move over there for Atlas. And the other thing I'd like to criticize about him is the fact that he didn't get any other rifleman squads, nor did he make good use of the, well, he did in the late game make good use of the airdrop combat group, but a little bit earlier, I think that would have been a very, very, very good tool to get some anti-tank guns, despite the fact that he went for lieutenant and he didn't have a captain, because you do need those anti-tank guns in the early game. You do need them ASAP as the Americans. And I feel like they would have helped very greatly in countering that flak half-track in the early game, although he was able to destroy that with the 50 caliber's armor-piercing rounds. Still, even later, what if the Germans went for a Lux or something? I still think that anti-tank gun being around is such a big asset to the recon support commander that you really can't pass it up, especially because you also get those airborne. Like, if you're not going to go for any riflemen and you're going to want to replace them with some kind of infantry, the airborne paratrooper support squad is a very, very good pick. They do have the M1919s, 2 of them at 120. Yeah, 120. So they have some nasty anti-infantry firepower that you can use, and the fact that he didn't go for that, I think allowed Mr. Panzerfusilier guy to survive a little bit longer than perhaps he should have, considering how reckless his infantry play was. Box's guy, he did pretty well, although I feel like 2 commandos on this map is definitely overboard. It's a very open map, so the commandos not really having the easiest of times getting into close range to use those silent stens to the best effect. Other than that, he played very well with his support weapons. He was able to always recruit them, never really lose them permanently, getting them back on the field, getting them into good positions. In the late game, he was a little reckless with his Fireflies, but it ended up working out in his favor, especially I think that Comet push was done well. I'm not sure why he didn't go for more Comets, because he definitely looked like the more aggressive kind of person. So I would argue for more Comet action for him, and I'm not sure what this was, but nobody decided to challenge it, so I guess it was fine. Anyway, I want to thank you all for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.